There is a 40-second moment in episode 5 of The Boys season 5 where Sister Sage, the smartest person on the planet, chloroforms her own coworker, talks to the back of her head, finds out the answer she was looking for, and quietly decides to quit her job, abandon the regime she built, and hide in a bunker for the rest of her life. The show does not stop to explain it. The music does not swell. The scene just happens and the season moves on. And almost nobody is talking about it. That moment is the key to everything wrong with this season, because the man writing the show has gone on record saying that every single character in his cast is, in his own words, falling apart. The actors have said the same thing in their interviews. They have used words like suicidal, on the ledge, breaking, lost. And tonight, going through episodes 1 to 6, every single one of those breaks gets unpacked, all the way down to the meta breakdown of the man writing it. Section 1. The smartest person in the room just walked out. There is a moment in the 5th season of The Boys that almost nobody is talking about. And it might be the most important moment in the entire show. It happens in episode 6. Sister Sage, the woman who is supposed to be the smartest person on the planet, the woman who designed the entire system that put Homelander in charge of America, the woman who has been 3 steps ahead of everyone for 2 full seasons now, sits down with a sleeping Ashley, drugs her with chloroform, flips her over, and starts talking to the back of Ashley's head. That sentence is real. That happens on screen. Back Ashley, the second face that grew out of Ashley after she dosed herself with Compound V, has the power to read minds. Sage uses her to read Soldier Boy's thoughts. And what she learns in that moment is the thing that finally breaks her. She finds out that Soldier Boy is not going to stop Homelander from getting his hands on the original Compound V. He is going to help him. He is going to make his son a god on purpose. And so Sage does something nobody expected. She quits. She walks out. She leaves a Taco Bell wrapper behind, which is funny in the moment, but also a clue Homelander uses later to figure out exactly who turned on him. She abandons the throne room she helped build. She crosses the floor and joins the boys, the same rebels she spent the last year trying to destroy. And her reason for doing it is the quietest, saddest reason anyone has given for anything this season. She just wants to be left alone. In episode 5, she tells Ashley the whole plan. The end game, the thing she has been working toward this entire time, is not power. It is not money. It is not revenge. It is a bunker in Colorado Springs. A hole in the ground. A place where the war that is coming between humans and soups cannot reach her. Where Homelander cannot call her at 3 in the morning to scream about something he saw on TikTok. Where she can finally close her eyes and rest. That is the end game of the smartest woman on Earth. A bunker. Quiet. Nothing else. To understand why this matters so much, you have to understand who Sister Sage is. She showed up in season 4 like a hurricane. She was the one who saw through every single character on the show in about 30 seconds. She figured out how to break the country. She handed Homelander a plan that worked. Every move she made was perfect. Every prediction came true. The freedom camps, where Huey and Frenchie and Mother's Milk got locked up at the start of season 5, those were her idea. The way Vought turned Starlight into a national terrorist instead of a hero, that was her idea too. She built the cage that everyone we love is now trapped inside. And she did it because she was bored. That was the part that scared people. Sage was never doing any of it because she believed in Homelander. She was doing it because she wanted to see if she could. So when that woman, the architect of the whole nightmare, decides that the smartest possible move is to run away and hide in a bunker, the show is telling you something. the show is telling you that inside this system, even the person who can see everything coming, even the person who is 100 steps ahead, has reached the same conclusion as everyone else. There is no winning. There is only getting out before it eats you. The way the show builds up to her break is patient. In episode 1, she is still in command. She is the one who saves Homelander from killing every shareholder in the room when Annie hacks the broadcast and exposes the Flight 47 footage. Homelander is about to laser the whole audience. Sage takes his arm. She just shakes her head. He stops. And then she goes on TikTok and turns the whole thing into an AI hoax inside of an hour. That is the version of Sage we have always known. Calm, efficient, cleaning up messes that would destroy anyone else. By episode 3, the cracks start showing. Homelander is hallucinating. He is bathing in tubs of breast milk. He is hearing his dead surrogate mother whispering to him that he is a god. Sage watches all of this happen and tries to keep the machine running. But the machine is being driven by a man who has officially lost contact with reality. She tries to plant ideas in Soldier Boy. She tries to manipulate the situation. She is still playing chess. Everyone else has switched to a game where the pieces are on fire. By episode 5, she has stopped pretending. She tells Ashley the truth. The country is going to tear itself apart. The Supes and the humans are going to war. There is no version of this where Homelander stays in charge for long, because Homelander is a man who has decided he is God, and gods do not run things, they smite things. The whole structure is about to collapse, and Sage has done the math. And the only safe place in the math is a bunker. She tells Ashley to come with her. Ashley refuses. Sage hits her with chloroform anyway. Not to kill her, just to use the back of her head to spy on a supernatural soldier so she can confirm what she already suspects. The whole interaction is treated almost casually. Sage is past asking permission. She is just doing what needs to be done to survive. In episode 6, she goes to the warehouse where the boys are holding Golden Geisha hostage. She walks in like she has been on their team the whole time. She tells them she has a mutual enemy with them. She offers a plan. The boys do not trust her. Of course they do not trust her. She is the woman who has been hunting them for months. But they let her stay because she is right, and they know she is right. And the world has gotten weird enough that the smartest person in the country is now hiding out in a warehouse with the same rebels she was trying to lock up. The thing that gets lost in all the noise of this season is how quiet Sage's break actually is. She does not scream. She does not lose her temper. She does not even seem particularly sad. The actor playing her, Susan Hayward, does this thing all season where her face never quite gives anything away, where you cannot tell if she is 2 steps ahead or 1 step behind. It is a brilliant performance because it lets the show keep you guessing about whether her defection is real or whether it is some final plan she is running on everybody. Even now, even at the end of episode 6, you cannot be sure. But the writing is very clear about one thing. The cost of being smart in a world run by a stupid, violent god is unbearable. Sage has spent the whole season watching Homelander throw away her best advice. He keeps overriding her. He keeps making things worse. In episode 1, she tells him not to leak the execution date for Huey and the others because it is obviously a trap that will draw out Butcher and Annie. He does it anyway. In episode 3, she tells him not to announce that Soldier Boy is his father at a press conference because it will undermine the whole image they are building. He does it anyway. In episode 6, she tries to keep him focused on rebuilding V1 in the lab. He gets distracted by his own hallucinations and his own paranoia. She built this man up. She handed him a country, and he is wasting it. Not because he is evil, although he is, because he is broken. He cannot hold the throne she built him, because the throne requires being in your own head, and Homelander is not in his own head anymore. He is in a head full of dead women and golden statues, and visions of himself as the second coming. There is a scene in episode 5 that explains Sage's exhaustion better than anything else. She is talking to Ashley about her childhood. She mentions, in passing, that she had a hard time growing up, that she was always the smartest person in every room she walked into, and that being the smartest person in every room is not actually a gift. It is a kind of loneliness. People do not like being around someone who can see right through them. People do not invite you to parties. People do not love you. They use you, or they fear you, or they try to break you down so they do not have to feel small around you. And then, in the middle of telling Ashley this, she just stops. She says she is tired. She says she wants out. She says the war is coming and she is not going to die for a man who throws breast milk parties. That is the moment her break becomes official. Not when she walks out of Vought, not when she defects. Right there, in a quiet conversation, with a woman who has another face on the back of her head, about how loneliness eventually grinds you down to the point where a bunker in Colorado sounds like paradise. What the show is doing with Sage is something important, and it sets up everything else this season is going to argue. The breakdown happening across the cast is not about weak people losing their minds. It is about the cost of staying inside a broken system for too long. Sage is the strongest character in the room, the most prepared, the most rational, the one with the best plan. And even she cannot make it work. Even she has to walk away. If she cannot survive this with her sanity intact, what chance does anyone else have? That question is the spine of the whole season. The show is not asking whether Homelander is bad, because we already know that. The show is not asking whether democracy can survive a Homelander, because the country in the show has already collapsed by the time season 5 starts. The show is asking a different question. The show is asking what happens to the people inside the system. The smart ones, the kind ones, the strong ones, the believers, the skeptics, the husbands and wives and friends and soldiers. What happens to them when the world goes mad and they have to wake up and keep working and keep eating and keep doing their jobs as if everything is normal? The answer the season gives is brutal. They do not survive. Not in the way you would expect a hero to survive. Some of them die. Some of them lose their minds. Some of them lose their souls. And some of them, like Sage, do the thing that looks like surrender, but is actually just the only sane move left. They quit. They run. They find a bunker. Sage walking out of Vought Tower in episode 6 is the first big crack in the wall of the show. It is the first time someone with the power to actually stop Homelander says out loud that stopping him is not worth what it would cost. And it sets up a pattern that the rest of the season is going to follow, character by character, scene by scene, as we watch the most dangerous show on television slowly, carefully, methodically take apart every single person in its main cast. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this analysis, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. But if Sage walking away is what a smart break looks like, the next one we have to talk about is what a loud break looks like. Because while Sage is quietly drawing up bunker blueprints and chloroforming her co-workers, the man who used to control the entire country is in a bathtub full of breast milk, talking to a ghost, and the ghost is telling him he is God. Section 2. The Man Who Talks to Ghosts. Homelander is taking a bath. That sentence should not be unsettling. People take baths. It is a normal thing. Except Homelander is not in water. He is in a tub full of breast milk. And he is not alone. He is being visited by a woman who has been dead for 4 seasons. And she is telling him that he is God, and that he needs to bathe the unfaithful in their own blood, and that he should rip babies out of their mothers and start over. She is also glowing, like an angel, with a halo. This is episode 3 of season 5, and this is, according to the man who runs the show, the official beginning of Homelander's psychotic break. Eric Kripke, the showrunner, said this directly. He said, a psychotic break is on its way. He said things are not coming together for Homelander. They are falling apart. And he said something more important than that. He said that Homelander has reached the highest level of power a human being can reach. And he is more miserable than he has ever been in his life. And he is completely incapable of looking inside himself, where the actual problem is. That is the diagnosis from the man writing him. A God complex with no inner life. A king who cannot stand his own thoughts. A toddler the size of a country. To understand how big a deal this is, you have to remember who Madeline Stillwell is. Madeline was Homelander's handler back in season 1. She was a Vought executive whose entire job was to keep Homelander manageable. The way she did this was disturbing. She treated him like a baby. She let him drink her breast milk. She rubbed his back. She gave him the maternal affection he never got because he was raised in a lab and never had a mother. And then, she lied to him about his son, Ryan, and Homelander killed her for it. He killed her in season 1, burned her with his laser eyes, walked out. We have not seen her in years. Now she is back, glowing, whispering to him that he is the next step in human evolution, calling him her sweet boy. And he believes her. The first time it happens is at A-Train's funeral in episode 2. The choir is singing, "O Father." The new Vought-approved preacher, played by Daveed Diggs, is up at the pulpit, blaming Starlight for A-Train's death. He is saying she possesses demons. He is saying her followers eat babies. He is saying they use garden shears to change boys into girls. And as he is preaching, Homelander gets uncomfortable. His face starts twitching. The light in the church changes. The music goes quiet. And he hears a voice, a woman's voice. "My sweet boy," she says. "My poor, sweet boy." That is the first crack. That is the first moment where Homelander starts hearing things that are not there. By episode 3, the hallucination has shape. By episode 3, Madeline is fully visible to him. She comes to him in moments of stress. She tells him things he needs to hear. She tells him he is a god. She tells him the time has come for him to ascend. She tells him he must lead the believers into the land of milk and honey. She is doing exactly what the real Madeline used to do, which is feed him exactly what his ego needs to hear so he stays manageable. Except this version of Madeline is not trying to manage him for Vought. She is a creation of his own broken mind, and she is telling him to escalate, to go further, to be bigger, to bathe the world in blood. The show is making a very precise point with this. The real Madeline lied to him to control him. the hallucinated Madeline lies to him to destroy him. And he cannot tell the difference. He never could. The thing that made him weak in Season 1 is now the thing that is making him dangerous in Season 5. The need for a mother. The need to be loved. The need to be told he is special. He is the most powerful living thing on the planet, and he is being driven mad by an unmet childhood need. Anthony Starr plays this in a way that is almost too uncomfortable to watch. When Madeline appears to him, his face does something specific. His eyes get wet. His mouth opens slightly. He looks, for just a second, like a 6-year-old child who has been told his mom is on the way to pick him up. There is no menace in him in those moments. There is only need. Raw, dripping, embarrassing need. And then the moment passes, and he goes back to being a fascist god king with laser eyes. The bath scene in Episode 3 is the one that makes it impossible to ignore. Soldier Boy walks in to find his son submerged in white liquid. Homelander tells him about the Madeline vision. He tells him there is a reckoning coming. He tells Soldier Boy that he, Soldier Boy, the original American superhero, is the real disappointment. And then he offers him a second chance if he helps find the V1. Soldier Boy stands there, looks at his son, looks at the tub, looks at his son again, and just leaves. The show plays it for laughs. The image is funny. A man bathing in milk. A war hero standing over him going, "What the hell am I looking at?" But underneath the joke is something serious. Soldier Boy is supposed to be the worst father in the show. Soldier Boy abandoned Homelander before Homelander was born. Soldier Boy beat him up in Season 3 and called him weak. Soldier Boy is the reason Homelander has a hole in him the size of a parent. And even Soldier Boy is uncomfortable here. Even the worst dad on television looks at his son in a tub of milk talking to a ghost and quietly walks away. The man who has no problem killing innocent people. The man who shoots through walls and stomps people to death. Even he is looking at Homelander and thinking, "My God, something is broken in there." The Madeline visions keep coming. In Episode 4, she appears again at the church where Homelander is being set up as a literal god by his propaganda team. They are building a religion around him, the Democratic Church of America. He is supposed to be the second coming, except better, because he is alive and Jesus is not. And as the church is being designed around him, Madeline comes back, and she tells him what to say, and she tells him how to position himself, and she pushes him further into the role. The thing that makes this disturbing is that there is a real version of this happening in our own world. 48 hours before Episode 3 aired, Donald Trump posted an AI-generated image of himself dressed as Jesus. Kripke confirmed this. He said the timing was almost impossible. He said, "This is the episode where Homelander decides he is going to be God." And 48 hours before it aired, the real-life president posted an image of himself as God. Kripke went on Polygon and said he was tired and weary of reality reflecting the show before the show could even air. He asked, out loud in an interview, if reality could just please give the show a chance to put absurd satire out there before reality proves it more realistic than the writers ever intended. And then it happened again. 3 days before Episode 6 aired, somebody unveiled a 22-foot-tall gold leaf statue of Trump at his golf course in Doral. Kripke posted a meme on Instagram that just said, "Seriously, what the actual hell?" Because Episode 6 features Homelander pushing forward with the God imagery, the church, the statues, the iconography. The writers were not predicting reality. Reality was racing them to the punchline. What this tells us about Homelander is that the show is not making a metaphor anymore. The show is documenting something. Kripke said this himself. He said the plan was to write a 1984 version of what creeping authoritarianism looks like in America, so that everyone could watch it and feel relieved they dodged the bullet. Except they did not dodge the bullet. They got hit by it. And now the man writing the show about a fascist God King is watching the real world build statues of the man his fictional God King is based on. And he is going on Instagram and writing one-word reactions because there is nothing else to say. Homelander's break is the loudest one in the season because it is the most visible. Sage walks out quietly. Annie hurts herself in private. Mother's Milk drinks himself sideways in a corner. Homelander breaks on a stage, in front of cameras, in front of the country he runs. He hallucinates a dead woman during press conferences. He talks to himself in front of A-Train's coffin in episode 2 and gives a whole speech about how the strong are always alone because nobody understands them. He says this to a corpse. He killed the corpse. He killed A-Train at the end of episode 1. Lasered him out of the sky for helping the boys. And now in episode 2, he is standing over the body, telling the body that he never wanted to do it. He goes on. He says he trusted A-Train. He says he sees now what the world is. He says people he loves keep leaving him. And then he frees Soldier Boy from the cryo tank because he thinks his dad will fix the loneliness. He thinks his dad will love him. His dad. The same dad who beat him up and called him a disappointment 2 seasons ago. The same dad who, in episode 4, traps him in a cell flooded with poisonous gas the second they have a disagreement. The same dad who, in episode 6, will hand him the V1, not because he loves him, but because he loved a Nazi named Stormfront, and he sees Homelander as her legacy. Homelander cannot read any of this. He keeps trying. He keeps reaching. In episode 3, he stands up at the press conference where Soldier Boy is being given a medal and announces on live television in front of the entire nation that Soldier Boy is his father. He does this because he cannot stand the thought of Soldier Boy getting attention without him. Soldier Boy is furious. The whole moment is humiliating for both of them. And then, later in the episode, when Homelander tries to have a real conversation with Soldier Boy, his dad tells him he is going to keep aging. He tells him he is going to get old and weak and die like everybody else. And Homelander, the most powerful being alive, looks like a child who just got told there is no Santa. That is when Madeline comes back the strongest, in the bath, telling him he is a god, telling him he is the Messiah, telling him he is going to live forever. Of course he believes her. Of course he does. He has nobody else. His dad just told him he is going to die. His handler is gone. His religion is fake. His son hates him. The country worships a version of him that does not exist. He is alone in a tower made of gold, and the only voice in his head that says he matters is the voice of a woman he murdered, who is not real, and who is telling him to keep going, to push further, to become the god the world needs. He does. By the end of episode 6, he gets the V1. He laser cuts his own wrist open and injects himself with it. His eyes start glowing. He drops to his knees. He starts screaming. Lasers shoot out of his eyes uncontrollably into the sky. The whole world can probably see it. And nobody knows yet whether he just became immortal, or whether his body is killing itself trying to handle a dose of original Compound V that was never meant for someone with his powers. Either way, the man in the bath of milk just made himself into something new, and he made the choice with a hallucination in his ear. That is the break. That is the picture. The most powerful man in the world is mentally a frightened child, being raised by the ghost of the woman he killed for not loving him enough. And the country he runs is dressing up in flag colors and chanting his name, while he sinks deeper into a hole no laser can burn him out of. It is the kind of breakdown that, in a normal world, would put a man in a hospital. In this world, it is putting a man on a throne. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this analysis, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. And the strangest part is that Homelander is not the most disturbing portrait of mental collapse this season. Not by a long shot. Because while Homelander is at least loud about his breakdown, there is another character whose break is happening completely silently, hidden inside a quiet smile and a nervous habit nobody at first even notices. And the actor playing her has gone on record saying her character is now, in her own words, suicidal. Section 3. The hero who wants to die. There is a small habit Annie January picks up in Season 5 that you might miss the first time you watch it. She presses her fingers against her temple. She digs in. Sometimes she stabs her own head with her own hand. It is quick. The camera never lingers. She does it in conversations. She does it during planning meetings. She does it while other people are talking and the show keeps moving, and you almost think you imagined it. You did not imagine it. It is real. And it is not in the script by accident. Erin Moriarty, the actor who plays Annie, went to the showrunner before Season 5 started shooting and asked for it. She wanted Annie to have a habit. She wanted Annie to have something her hands could do during stressful moments. Something that would let her escape from the conversation for half a second at a time. Moriarty has said this on the record, in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. She said she wanted to find a way to show, physically, that Annie is still processing the trauma from the earlier seasons, but that what has happened between Season 4 and Season 5 has been the worst of it. The hardest stuff. The stuff she cannot swallow. And then Moriarty said something that almost nobody in the audience has caught yet, even though it is the loudest sentence anybody attached to this show has said all year. She said, "Annie is suicidal." Those are her words, from the interview. She said, and this is exact, that she deems Annie as being suicidal. She said Annie believes the only way to redeem herself for the casualties that came from the Starlighter movement is to sacrifice herself, to die for the cause, to trade her life for the lives that have been lost because of her leadership. The actor playing the second most important hero in the show is telling you, out loud, that the hero in question has decided the only way out is to die. That changes how you watch every single one of her scenes this season. Go back to Episode 1. Annie is undercover at the Vought shareholder meeting. She is dressed as a firecracker impersonator. She slips backstage, hacks a computer, and projects the old Flight 47 footage onto the stage in front of Homelander and every investor in the room. It is a brave move. It is a perfect move. It is also a suicide move. There is no escape plan. She fights Black Noir II in a back room while bullets are flying. She is supposed to die in that room. She does not die because she is good at what she does, but the operation was built without an exit. That is the first sign. Then in Episode 2, after the team rescues Huey and the others from the Freedom Camp, Annie reunites with him in the kind of scene you would expect to feel like a victory. They have not seen each other in a year. They love each other. They missed each other. And the scene plays, on the surface, like a romance. They sleep together. They reconnect. They are back. Except they are not. Watch the scene with Moriarty's interview in mind. Watch what Annie does. She does not want to talk. She does not want to have a real conversation. The second Huey tries to ask her what happened during the year they were apart, she shuts it down by initiating sex. The show is showing you, through physical action, that Annie is using physical contact as a way to avoid being seen. She is not connecting with Huey. She is hiding from him while their bodies are touching. Huey clocks this almost immediately. The next time he tries to have the conversation, she tries the same trick. He stops her. He says he is there for her. He says he is not going anywhere. He tells her, very softly, not to turn into Butcher. That is the warning. That is what he sees in her. He sees the same hollowness Butcher carries around. He sees that she is becoming the thing she used to fight. And Annie does not respond. She just lies there. By episode 3, the dam breaks. Huey is fighting an invisible soup in a brutal hand-to-hand match. Annie is told for a moment, briefly, that Huey has been killed. The reaction Moriarty plays is not normal grief. It is collapse. She goes completely empty. The information just hollows her out. And then when she finds out he is alive, she flies away. She literally leaves. She vanishes into the sky and does not come back for the rest of the episode. She says, on her way out, that it was easier on her when she thought he was dead. That is a line nobody is meant to say lightly. Easier when he was dead. Because then she could die too. Because then there would be no reason left to keep her tethered to the world. The Starlighters are dying because of her plans. Her friends are getting hurt because of her decisions. The country has fallen apart on her watch. And the one thing keeping her anchored to all of it is Huey. And the second Huey is gone, the part of her that was looking for an excuse to let go finally finds the door open. She does not actually die in that moment, of course. She comes back. But the moment shows you what is underneath. The moment shows you that the part of Annie that wants to keep fighting is the smaller part. The bigger part is the one waiting for permission to stop. Episode 4 is built around her seeking that permission. She goes to find her father, her real father. The man who left when she was a child because her mother kept telling her she was chosen by God, and her father knew that was not true. She tracks him down in some small town. She knocks on his door. He opens it. He is older now. He has remarried. He has a teenage son she did not know existed, a half-brother named Mason. The reunion is awkward and beautiful at the same time. Her father, Rick, is now a deputy at the local police department, which means he works for the same government that calls Annie a terrorist, which means his colleagues, if they knew who she was, would arrest her on sight. Her teenage half-brother has bought into a lot of Vought propaganda. He calls Starlighters terrorists in front of her, not knowing who she is, and his parents tell him to shut up. The whole visit is a tightrope walk. But what Annie is actually doing there, underneath all of the family drama, is asking a question. She is asking her father to tell her she is worth keeping alive. She is asking him to tell her that she has not ruined everything. She is asking him to tell her the people she loves are not weakness, even though every part of her current life is screaming that they are. And her father, who has been gone for 20 years, who has every reason not to know what to say, gives her the right answer. He says, very simply, that the people we love are not our weakness. That is the line. That is the line that Annie has been waiting to hear from somebody who is not her boyfriend and not on her team. From a parent. From the parent who left. He also tells her something more important. He tells her he tracked her career from afar. He tells her he was proud of her. He tells her not to turn her back on the people she loves the way he turned his back on her. He is teaching her, in 5 minutes, the lesson he learned over 20 years of regret. Do not leave. Do not walk away. Do not disappear into the sky because you think the people you love would be better off without you. It is the most important conversation of Annie's season, and the show plays it with no music and no big speeches. Just a man and his daughter sitting in a small house in a town that hates her, talking quietly while the world burns outside. Moriarty has said this is the conversation that catalyzes Annie, that galvanizes her, that gives her her heroism back for the rest of the season. And it does. By episode 5 and 6, Annie is more like herself than she has been in a long time. She is making plans again. She is helping the team. She is doing the cloud watching scene with Huey in episode 6, where they just lie back and stare at the sky together and let themselves have a quiet moment. But the brain-stabbing habit is still there. The escape habit. The little hand-to-temple stab that Moriarty added on purpose. Annie does not stop doing it just because her dad gave her a good speech. She still does it in scenes after the reunion. The trauma is not gone. The wanting to die part of her is not gone. She has just decided for now that she will keep going, and the small habit is the leftover of how close she came to not deciding that. There is something else going on with Annie this season that has to be talked about, because it changes the way you read everything she does. And it is one of the most quietly powerful things any show has done with a character in years. In the season 4 finale, a shapeshifter took Annie's form and slept with Huey multiple times. Huey thought he was sleeping with his girlfriend. He was not. He was being assaulted, in the most literal sense, by a soup wearing his girlfriend's face. The show, at the time, framed this as if Annie was the one most hurt by it. She acted like Huey had cheated on her. Huey apologized. The audience hated this. Critics hated this. The whole framing was wrong, and the writers eventually heard it. In Season 5, Episode 4, Huey finally says it out loud. He tells Kimiko, very quietly, that he got, in his own words, bad touched by a shapeshifter last year, and Annie still found a way to make it about her. That line is the writers admitting they messed up. The writers walking back the framing of the finale. The writers giving Huey his pain back. And it is also the show putting weight on Annie's shoulders that she now has to carry. Annie was not just a bad partner in that moment. She used her boyfriend's assault as a way to avoid talking about her own actions. She made his trauma into her drama. And on some level, she knows it. Episode 2 shows her using sex to avoid talking to Huey about anything real. The pattern is the same. She is still doing it. She is still hiding from him by touching him. The suicidal thoughts and the avoidance and the brain stabbing and the flying away moments are all the same thing, viewed from different angles. Annie has decided, somewhere deep down, that she is the problem. That the people she loves are getting hurt because of her. That the only clean way out is to remove herself from the equation. Her father's speech in Episode 4 is what stops her from doing it immediately. But it does not cure her. There is no cure for what she is carrying. There is only the choice, every day, to keep going. What makes this performance so brutal to watch, in hindsight, is that Moriarty was making it while she was sick. She has gone public about being diagnosed with Graves' disease in June 2025, which is in the middle of filming. She was 6 months into shooting Season 5 when her doctor finally figured out what was wrong with her. Chronic fatigue, nausea, a body that was not working right. She has said in interviews that she does not feel like she was as present for Annie during this final season as she would have liked to be, and that this has been painful for her. That is the thing you cannot unsee once you know it. Some of the hollowness in Annie's eyes this season is not just acting. Some of it is a woman who was genuinely unwell, playing a character who is genuinely unwell, in a show that is about a world that is genuinely unwell. The layers compound. The performance hits harder because of what was happening behind it. And the saddest part is that Annie is the hero. Annie is the moral center of the team. Annie is the person the Starlighters look to, the person who is supposed to stand opposite Homelander and be the symbol of everything he is not. Hope, goodness, the version of the world worth saving. And inside that symbol is a woman who has been told by the universe over and over that being good gets people killed, that being a leader means watching your followers die, that the only redemption available to her is to die alongside them. The show is asking a hard question through her. The show is asking whether it is even possible to be a hero in a country that has decided heroism is a kind of terrorism. The show is asking whether the moral cost of trying to do the right thing eventually crushes the person trying to do it. The show is asking whether Annie can survive being Annie. The answer is not coming until the finale, but the evidence so far is that the survival is going to cost her something nobody who loves her wants to see her pay. The thing about Annie's break, though, is that it is private. She hides it. She presses it into the side of her own head with her own fingers and walks around with it tucked away. Even Huey has to guess at what is inside her. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this analysis, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. But the next person we have to talk about does not hide anything. The next person we have to talk about wears his break on his face, in his hands, in the bottle that never leaves his side. He used to be the man who talked everyone else off the ledge. Now he is the one standing on it. Section 4. The father who stopped going home. Mother's Milk has a bottle in his hand in almost every scene this season. That is a small thing to notice. It is also the most important thing about him this year. For 4 full seasons, Marvin, the man everyone calls MM, has been the dad of the group. The one who shows up sober. The one who has a wife and a daughter waiting for him. The one who reminds the team that they are not just killers, that they are people, that there is a life worth getting home to. The one who pulls Butcher back from the edge every time Butcher leans too far over it. That man is gone. The man we are watching this season is drunk by lunchtime. He smokes cigars now. He laughs in places he never used to laugh. He kidnaps an old woman from a retirement home in episode 6 without flinching. He sides with Butcher's plan to release a virus that could kill thousands of innocent Supes. The same plan that could kill Kimiko and Annie. The same plan he would have fought tooth and nail against in any earlier season. And when the man called the Legend looks him in the eye and says, "Hey, this is crazy. This is not who you are," MM just looks back and says the world is crazy. The actor playing him, Laz Alonso, has been very clear about what is happening to MM. He said it in an interview, on the record. He said the audience is used to seeing MM as the heart of the group, the optimist, the strong father figure who talks everyone else off the ledge for 4 seasons. He said, this season, MM is the one on the ledge. Those are his words. The man on the ledge. He said something else, too. He said MM has given up. Not in a small way, not in the temporary way. He said MM has given up the hope that things can turn out well. He has become more cynical. He has stopped believing in the version of the world he used to fight for. And the saddest part of how Alonso describes it is that he says MM, in giving up, has found a strange kind of freedom. The trauma that used to control him, the OCD that used to grip his hands and rattle his breathing, the fear of dying before he could get home to his family, all of that has loosened its grip on him. He is freer than he has ever been on the show. Which sounds like a good thing until you understand what it actually means. A man who has stopped being afraid of dying is not a man who has been healed. He is a man who has stopped caring whether he makes it back. The freedom Alonso describes is the freedom of someone who has decided, somewhere quietly inside himself, that he is not going home this time. That whatever comes next, he is going to walk into it without flinching, because the version of the world that is on the other side of survival is not a version of the world he wants to live in. The first time we see MM in Season 5, he is in a freedom camp. He has been locked up for a year. The people in charge of the camp include soups like Love Sausage and Cindy. The other prisoners have given up. Huey is trying to organize escape attempts. Frenchie is making friends and gathering intel. MM is not doing either of these things. MM is fighting other prisoners in bare-knuckle brawls for money. He has bottles tucked away in his bunk. He has stopped trying. In the past, this is exactly the kind of behavior MM would have shaken Butcher for. MM has spent the entire run of the show being the one who reminds Butcher that drinking does not fix anything, that violence does not fix anything, that you have to keep your head clear, because the people who love you need you to. Now he is the one drinking. Now he is the one fighting. And there is no one left to shake him out of it. The reason this matters is because of who MM has been across the show. He is the founding member of the boys. He is the one who recruited the original team. He is the one whose father was killed by Soldier Boy decades ago, and whose entire life has been organized around finding a way to make that loss mean something. He is a husband. He is a father to a young girl named Janine. He has fought every single battle on this show with one eye on the door, on the way home, on the people waiting for him. And in Season 5, the door is closed. His wife and daughter are nowhere to be found. The show has not put them on screen this year. They might be in hiding. They might be in a freedom camp. They might have left him. The show is being careful not to say. What it is showing us, over and over, is that MM is not calling them. He is not talking about them. He is not planning around getting back to them. The center of his life has gone quiet, and instead of fighting to get it back, he is letting himself be pulled toward the kind of mission that does not need a survivor. The cigar is the small thing that gives it away. MM does not smoke. He has never smoked. Smoking is not a Marvin thing. It is a Butcher thing. It is the kind of thing his ideological opposite would do. And there he is, this season, with a cigar between his fingers, smiling in a way that does not quite reach his eyes, doing things he would have called Butcher out for in earlier seasons. The two of them have always been opposites. Butcher is the one who wants to burn it all down. MM is the one who wants to save what is worth saving. Butcher will get people killed to win. MM will lose just to keep his people alive. The whole moral spine of the show, for years, has been built on the gap between those two men. As long as MM was standing where MM stood, the team had a conscience. As long as MM was around, Butcher could not go too far. This season, MM is not standing there anymore. He has moved. He is closer to where Butcher is than he has ever been, and the team is feeling it. In episode 2, goes upstairs in the teenage Kix mansion and finds Countess Crow, a young soup with crow-related powers. She tries to fight him. He talks her down. She breaks down crying. She tells him she does not want to be part of this. She tells him she just wants to go home. And for one beautiful moment, becomes the we used to know. He lets her go. He gives her a way out. He sees a scared kid, and he does the right thing, even though Butcher would have killed her without thinking. That moment matters. It tells you that the real is still in there, the man who can see a kid as a kid and not as a target. The man who can choose mercy when killing would be easier. But then watch what he does in episode 6. He kidnaps Golden Geisha, a retired soup living in a Vought-run nursing home. She is old. She is a fan favorite of Kimiko's, who grew up watching her on TV as the only female Asian soup of her era. She has been out of the game for decades. And with Butcher and Kimiko, breaks into her room in the middle of the night and drugs her. They have to fight their way out past a group of elderly soups. The legend, the old Vought insider helping them find bomb site, looks at Marvin and says he is becoming Butcher. He says he expected better from him. He says he is leaving because he wants no part of what they are doing. And does not flinch. He does not apologize. He just says the world is crazy, and they have to do whatever it takes to stop Homelander.
That is the line. That is the moment you know the old is not coming back. Not by himself. Not without something major to shake him out of it. The drinking is constant.
Every recap of the season's early episodes notes it. In episode 1, he has a bottle in the camp. In episode 2, he has a bottle at the safe house. In episode 3, he has a bottle in his hand when he is having his conversation with Stan Edgar at the bunker. That conversation, by the way, is one of the best scenes Laz Alonso has ever gotten to play. He is sitting across from Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Stan Edgar, the former Vought CEO. The two of them are talking about the past, about what could have been, about how Edgar tried to keep Vought running in a sane way and lost the company to a man who is now bathing in breast milk. The conversation is quiet. It is full of mutual respect, and the entire time, is drinking. Alonso has talked about that scene in interviews. He said working with Esposito was like playing tennis back and forth. He said he had to study Esposito in rehearsals to figure out his rhythm. He said it was one of the most exciting acting experiences he had on the show. And what comes through in the scene, the thing that makes it land, is that is having a real human moment with another adult man for the first time in a long time. And his answer to that moment is to drink through it. He cannot let himself be present without something taking the edge off. That is what drinking does in real life. That is what it is doing here. The version of that used to be present, that used to be the most grounded man in the room, has been replaced by a man who can only stand to be in a room if he is half numb. The OCD is the other tell. Has had obsessive-compulsive disorder since season 1. The show has handled it carefully. And a lot of people who have actually lived with the condition have said over the years that the way the show treats it is one of the most accurate portrayals on television. His OCD is not played for jokes. It is played as a real thing that happens to him when he is stressed. He clenches his fists. He breathes hard. He hears ringing in his ears. He has to grip something solid to stop the spiral. In episode 2, when Huey tells him on the phone that Soldier Boy has arrived at the teenage Kix house, has a moment on screen where you can see all of it happening. The clenched fists, the ringing, the breathing. The OCD is not gone. It is still there. He has just gotten so used to it that he is functioning around it now, in a way that looks calm, but is actually a kind of disassociation. He is operating through the panic instead of letting it stop him. That is a worse place to be, mentally, than letting the panic happen and processing it. It is the kind of coping mechanism that breaks people down slowly, over years. And the soldier boy of it all is its own problem. Soldier Boy is the man who murdered MM's family decades ago. The whole reason MM is in this fight is because of Soldier Boy. The whole reason MM joined Butcher in the first place is because Butcher was the only person who could help him get close to the soup who took his father from him. Soldier Boy is the original wound. He is the reason for everything. And now, Soldier Boy is walking around as a member of the Seven, with the President of the United States pinning medals on him on live television, while MM is hiding in a safe house, drinking himself stupid, because he cannot get close enough to the man to kill him. The wound that drove him for 30 years is now being celebrated on national TV, and he has nowhere to put the rage. So the rage is eating him from the inside. The rage is what is making him say things like the world is crazy. The rage is what is making him kidnap old women without flinching. The rage is what is making him stop calling home. Alonso has been very precise in his interviews about the cost of all this. He said playing Eminem this season required him to think deeply about what activism actually does to a person over a long time. The exhaustion, the slow erosion of hope. The way that being a change agent in a world that does not want to change can grind you down to nothing. He said every day is not a good day. He said there are days when you feel defeated. And he said that is the place MM is in this season. The place of a man who has been fighting for too long, who has lost too much, and who has finally accepted that the fight might not have a winning side. That is the cost the show is putting on the screen. The cost of being the heart of a team for 4 seasons in a world that keeps getting worse. The cost of being a black father trying to raise a daughter in a country run by a man with a flag cape. The cost of pretending every day that everything is going to be okay when you have stopped believing it yourself. The thing that makes MM's collapse different from everyone else's is that it is quiet. It does not have the visual loudness of Homelander hallucinating in a bathtub. It does not have the diagnosable weight of Annie stabbing her own temple. It looks, on first glance, like a man just having a rough year. A man drinking a little more than usual. A man being a little more cynical than he used to be. A man helping his friends. But underneath, it is the most thorough collapse on the show. Because MM was the floor. MM was the standard by which the rest of them measured whether they were still good people. And the floor has given out. The floor is on the ledge. The floor is drinking. The floor is not going home. If MM is not okay, none of them are okay. And the show knows it. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this analysis, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. The drinking and the kidnapping and the cigar and the cynicism are the small picture. The bigger picture is that the man who used to be the conscience of the team has stopped acting like a conscience and started acting like a soldier. And the man who used to be the soldier, the man whose hands have always been bloody, the man who has been killing things since long before any of this started, has been getting steadily worse for a year and a half, with a sentient cancer in his brain that is whispering to him in a dead friend's voice. And that is the next stop. Section 5. The man with the devil inside him. Billy Butcher is dying. He has been dying for a year and a half now. The thing killing him is not normal cancer. The thing killing him is something Compound V turned into when it got mixed up with the tumors already growing in his head. The thing killing him grew. It changed shape. It became smart. And at some point, somewhere in the dark of his own brain, it started talking to him in the voice of a dead man. The dead man is Joe Kessler. Joe was a real person once. Joe was a CIA officer who served with Butcher during the War on Terror. The two of them did terrible things together in foreign countries that the government would never admit existed. And then, during a mission in the Panjshir Valley in Afghanistan, Butcher left Joe to die. Joe died. Joe stayed dead. Joe has been dead for years. Except in Season 4, Joe came back. He showed up in Butcher's life like nothing had happened. The two of them had coffee. They talked about old times. Joe offered Butcher a deal. Joe pushed Butcher toward the darker version of the mission. The version where you kill Homelander's son. The version where you use a virus that might wipe out every soup on the planet, whether they deserve it or not. And for a whole season, the audience watched Joe and Butcher have these conversations. And the audience trusted Joe was real, because Joe felt real. Joe was played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, with so much weight and warmth that you never thought to question him. And then, in episode 6 of season 4, the show pulled back the curtain. Joe was not real. Joe had not been real the whole time. Joe was a hallucination. The cancer in Butcher's head had grown a personality. The personality had Joe's face and Joe's voice, because Joe was the worst thing Butcher had ever done, and his guilt over Joe was big enough to give the cancer a costume to wear. Eric Kripke, the showrunner, has been very specific about what Joe is. He said it on the record. Joe is not the tumor itself. Joe is a separate identity that the tumor created inside Butcher's mind. Joe is the devil on Butcher's shoulder, and Joe is winning. Jeffrey Dean Morgan said the same thing in his interviews. He said Butcher cannot redeem himself, cannot honor the promise he made to his dead wife Becca until he overcomes Joe. Without defeating the version of himself that wears Joe's face, Butcher's whole story cannot end. He will just keep doing what Joe tells him to do until he runs out of body to do it in. That is the man we are following in Season 5. A man with a sentient piece of cancer in his head that took on the personality of his dead friend, that is whispering to him at all hours, that is telling him to do worse things, that is taking over more and more of his life. Becca, his dead wife, used to be the angel in his head. She was the voice telling him to be better. Joe is the voice telling him to be worse. And in Season 4, the show let us watch the two of them fight each other inside his head. Becca lost. In Season 5, Becca is mostly gone. The angel has been overruled. Butcher is alone in there with Joe, and the only person who knows it is Butcher. And Butcher has lost the ability to tell the difference between his own thoughts and Joe's. The signs of this are everywhere in the first episode. The very first thing Butcher does in Season 5 is go visit his father, Sam Butcher, the man who beat him as a child, the man who made his childhood a horror, the man who, even with cancer eating away at him, has somehow stayed alive longer than Butcher's own mother, who is now dead. Butcher walks into his father's home. He talks to him. He thinks about everything that happened. And then he kills him. He kills his own father. The show frames this almost like a chore. There is no big speech. There is no dramatic music. Butcher does what he came to do and moves on. And that is the most disturbing part. Killing your own father is supposed to be the kind of event that defines a person's life. For Butcher, in Season 5, it is the warm-up. It is the thing he does before breakfast. He does it because the version of himself that is in charge now, the Joe version, does not feel the weight of those kinds of things anymore. He cannot. The cancer has dulled the part of him that was supposed to feel it. By episode 2, the warning signs get louder. Butcher has captured Samir, the scientist who was working on the soup-killing virus. He has cut off Samir's leg with a hatchet in a previous season. He has held him prisoner. He is forcing him to keep working on the virus. And he is doing this while ignoring every warning Samir gives him. Samir tells him very clearly that if the virus gets strong enough to kill Homelander, it might also become airborne. It might float through the air. It might kill not just every soup, but every human being on Earth too. The whole planet. 8 billion people. Butcher hears this. He understands it. He does not slow down. He does not change course. He keeps pushing forward. Because Joe in his head is telling him that the only thing that matters is killing Homelander. And the math of 8 billion lives versus 1 is not a calculation Joe is willing to do honestly. Karl Urban, the actor playing Butcher, has been very direct in interviews about how dark this season gets for his character. He has gone on record warning that episodes 7 and 8 will be the most brutal of the season. He has hinted that major characters may not survive. He has also hinted that there is more story coming about the real Joe Kessler, the one from the Panjshir Valley, and about the scar on Butcher's forehead that has never been explained. There are leaked production images suggesting episode 7 will contain a flashback showing how that scar happened, and how the real Joe really died, and what the real history between these two men actually was. That detail matters because it tells us something about where the season is going for Butcher. The show is not done with Joe. The show is going to make Butcher confront, in some way, the real version of the man whose face the cancer is wearing. Whether that confrontation kills him, saves him, or just lets him die honest, we do not know yet. What we know is that Butcher cannot end his story without ending his relationship with Joe. And ending his relationship with Joe means looking directly at the worst thing he ever did and deciding what to do with the weight of it. The cancer is the other half of this story. Butcher has been dying for a long time on the show. Every season since season 3 has had Butcher receive a new prognosis. He has months. He has weeks. He has days. He keeps not dying because Compound V has changed what his cancer is. And the new cancer is keeping him alive in some sick way, while it also drives him mad. He is dying and not dying at the same time. He is a man on borrowed time who has stopped counting the days because counting them does not change anything. In episode 1 of season 5, Homelander spots the cancer in Butcher the second they are in the same room. Homelander has X-ray vision. He can see right through skin. And when he looks at Butcher, he sees the cancer. But he does not see it the way a doctor would. He sees it the way a fellow monster would. He calls it beautiful. He stares at it for a moment with something close to awe. He says he has never seen anything like it. The strongest evil being on the planet looks inside Butcher's body and is impressed by what is growing in there. That is supposed to be a warning. Homelander does not get impressed by things easily. If Homelander, the man bathing in breast milk and talking to ghosts, is looking at what is inside Butcher and saying that is something special, the audience is supposed to understand that what is inside Butcher is no longer a normal disease. It is its own thing. It is alive in some way. and it is moving him around like a puppet without him fully realizing it. The scene that crystallizes how far gone Butcher is comes in episode 5, and it is small, and it is heartbreaking. Butcher's bulldog, Terror, eats some chocolate that Frenchie accidentally throws in the trash. Chocolate is poisonous to dogs. Terror could die. And Butcher, the man who is willing to wipe out half the planet to win his war, completely panics. He yells at Huey to get hydrogen peroxide. He holds Terror's mouth open while Huey pours it in. He waits, with his hand on his dog, for Terror to throw up the chocolate. Terror throws it up. Terror is fine. Butcher exhales. In that moment, you see the version of Billy Butcher that is still in there. The man who can still love. The man who can still feel terrified for something he cares about. The man whose hands can still shake when something he loves might leave him. He has lost Becca. He has lost Ryan, who hates him now. He has lost his place on his own team. The only thing in the world he has left to love is a wrinkled English bulldog who humps a Homelander plush toy. And he almost loses that dog over a piece of chocolate. And the panic in his face is the realest emotion the show has given him all season. After Terror is safe, Butcher does something almost gentle. He looks at Huey. He sees Huey smile. And for a moment, he becomes the version of himself that Huey has always defended. The version of himself that has a glimmer of a heart left. Butcher looks at a trophy on the shelf that belonged to his dead brother, Lenny. He thinks, and he tells Huey that if they find the V1, he will save some of it for the girls. For Annie. For Kimiko. He will not let the virus kill them. That is the closest Butcher gets all season to being a good man. That is the door cracking open for one brief moment. He has spent 5 episodes telling everyone that the deaths of Annie and Kimiko are an acceptable price to pay for taking down Homelander. He has been telling them that 10,000 dead soups is fine, that he would have killed Becca herself if it meant saving the world. And then his dog almost dies, and the dog surviving reminds him that he can still feel love. And the feeling of love makes him soften, just for a second, on the issue of letting the women on his team die. The dog saves Annie's life. The dog saves Kimiko's life. The dog reminds Butcher that he is still human. But it does not save Butcher. Because the next scene, the next episode, the next decision Butcher has to make, Joe is right there in his ear again, telling him to be ruthless, telling him the world ends if he goes soft, telling him that nothing matters except the kill. By episode 6, Butcher is back to kidnapping old women and threatening to torture them to draw out their lovers. The moment with Terror was real. The change of heart was real. The problem is that real does not last when there is a sentient devil in your brain feeding you a new identity every hour of every day. There is a scene in episode 3 that explains the whole arc, if you watch it carefully. Butcher finally has Ryan back. Ryan, his stepson, the only piece of Becca he has left, has come to him. The two of them sit in a pub together. Butcher has a beer. Ryan does not drink. And Butcher tries to tell Ryan the plan. He tells Ryan that the only way to stop Homelander is for the two of them, father and son, to die together. Butcher will lure Homelander out. Ryan will help. The virus will be released. Homelander will die. Butcher will die. Ryan will die. The world will be saved. Ryan listens. Ryan is 15 years old. He has just been told by the only adult left in his life who used to mean anything to him that the plan is for them both to die. And Butcher is saying this like it is normal, like it is something Ryan should be happy about. like dying with your father for the world, is a good way to go. Ryan does not buy it. Ryan leaves. He runs away again. He runs into Homelander instead, which goes badly for him, and he gets beaten by his own biological father. He ends up back at Butcher's safe house, recovering from the beating, and he and Butcher have another conversation. And Butcher tries to compare them to Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and Ryan does not buy that either. Ryan runs away again. Because the version of Butcher that is talking to him is not the version of Butcher that Ryan needed. It is the version that Joe has been building over the last year and a half. The thing that makes Butcher's break the most tragic of all the breaks on the show is that everyone can see it except him. Huey can see it. Huey has been defending Butcher for 5 seasons, and even Huey is starting to wonder whether the man he is defending is still in there. Annie can see it. Annie has hated Butcher for a long time, and even she is treating him differently now, with the wary care you give to someone who is sick and dangerous. The legend can see it. The legend takes one look at MM and says he has become Butcher, and the implication is that being Butcher is now a bad thing, a corrupted thing, a thing to be pitied. Butcher cannot see it, because the part of his brain that would normally see it has been replaced by Joe. Joe is the one doing the looking now. And Joe likes what he sees. The cancer is going to kill him. The show has been telling us that for years. The question of Season 5 is not whether Butcher dies. The question is what version of Butcher gets to die. The version that loved Becca? The version that saved his dog? The version that, for one moment in a pub with his stepson, tried to be a father? Or the version that is just Joe wearing Butcher's skin, doing the worst thing he can think of, all the way to the very last breath? Before we move on, if you're enjoying this analysis, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. That answer is coming, but before we get there, there is somebody else we have to talk about. Somebody whose breakdown does not look like a breakdown at all. Somebody who is smiling on camera while she sells out everyone who ever loved her, who lies on live TV about her own pastor, who tries to win the love of a man who will kill her for the crime of asking for love back. Her break is the saddest one in the show, because she does it to herself, and she does it on purpose, and she does it knowing she is doing it. Section 6. The woman who sold her soul for a smile. Firecracker dies in episode 5. Her real name is Misty Tucker Gray. She has been on the show since season 4. She is a small woman with a big mouth, a former pageant kid turned conservative talk show host, the face of a Vought Network show called Truth Bomb, where she sits behind a desk and lies to America for a living. She has spent her whole adult life chasing one thing. She has chased it with everything she has. She has compromised every single value she once had to get a little closer to it. The thing she has been chasing is Homelander's approval. She dies, in the end, because she got it. And because she dared, for one moment, to think that getting it meant the same thing as being loved. To understand how big Firecracker's break is, you have to understand the kind of person she started out as. Before she was Firecracker, she was Sparkler. She grew up in the same Christian pageant circuit as Annie January did. The two of them competed against each other as kids. In one specific pageant, the two of them were the final 2 contestants, and Annie's mother told Annie to do whatever it took to win. And Annie did. Annie spread a vicious lie about Misty. Annie told everyone that Misty had only made it to the final round by giving sexual favors to the judges. And then, when Misty confronted her about it, Annie called her a fat slut and walked away. The rumor followed Misty for years. It destroyed her childhood. It shaped the woman she would become. And the woman she became, after years of being told she was worthless and disgusting and unwanted, found her way to the only kind of work that would have her. She became a podcast host. She became a conspiracy theory pusher. She became a person who got her audience by telling people what they wanted to hear about the things they were already afraid of. When Homelander noticed her in Season 4, it was like she had been waiting her whole life for the moment. Homelander offered her power. Homelander offered her a platform. Homelander offered her, for the first time since that pageant when she was a kid, the feeling of being chosen by somebody important. And she gave up everything to keep that feeling alive. She started taking medicine to force her body to produce breast milk, because Homelander has a feeding fetish, and she wanted to be the one to give him what he wanted. She let him use her. She humiliated herself in private and on camera, over and over again, for the small mercy of being allowed close to him. By Season 5, when she could not produce enough milk for him anymore, he stopped looking at her. He looked through her. He called her by her name only when he had to. He showed her the kind of bored, slightly disgusted attention you give to a piece of furniture that has stopped being useful. And she kept trying. In the first half of Season 5, Firecracker is given a new job. She is part of the team designing the Democratic Church of America, the new fake religion being built around the idea of Homelander as God. She helps create the Homelander Bible, a custom mix of the Old Testament, the New Testament, and a third made-up part called the Brand New Testament that is entirely AI-generated material, glorifying Homelander as the Messiah. The numbers are not great. Only 22% of Americans would actually accept Homelander as God, according to Vought's own data. But Firecracker keeps pushing. She brings the data. She works the polls. She makes herself useful to him, even though her face is no longer welcome in the room. Then, Episode 5 happens. The episode is called One-Shots, and it is structured as a series of short character pieces, each one zooming in on one person and showing you what their day looks like inside the bigger machinery of the season. Firecracker gets the first one. And what we watch in that segment is the full collapse of a human being who has run out of room to keep being someone she is not. The episode opens on Firecracker getting a call from her hometown of Daytona Beach, Florida. She steps away from the meeting she is in. She lies to Father, the new Vought-approved preacher, about who is calling. She meets up with the person on the other end. It is the Reverend who raised her, Reverend Greg Dupree, the man who shaped her faith when she was a child, the man whose church she grew up in. He is played by W. Earl Brown, and he plays the role with the kind of weary kindness that makes you understand exactly what kind of pastor he is. The kind who would have noticed the broken kid in his congregation and would have tried, however imperfectly, to love her into being whole. He has come to ask her for help. He has come because his church is under pressure from Vought. He has come because they are demanding he convert his congregation into a Homelander-worshipping outfit, and he is refusing. And he is going to lose his pulpit over it. And he is asking her, the most famous woman to ever come out of his church, the woman whose career he watched from a distance and prayed for, to use her platform to defend him, to do the right thing, to remember who she was before any of this happened. And you watch her face during the conversation. Valerie Curry, the actor who plays her, does something miraculous in this scene. She lets you see Misty under Firecracker. She lets you see the little girl in the pageant. She lets you see the person who used to believe in something. The pastor is reaching her. He is getting through. He is reminding her of the version of herself that existed before Homelander, before Vought, before the lies, before the medicine, before the milk. You think, watching it, that she might choose right. You think she might use her show to defend him. And then you watch her sit down at her desk for the next episode of Truth Bomb. You watch her stare into the camera. And you watch her destroy him on live television. She accuses him on her show of being infected by Starlight propaganda. She accuses him of being a pedophile. She accuses him of things she knows are completely false. She trashes the man who raised her in front of millions of viewers because she is desperate to win Homelander's approval back. A single tear rolls down her cheek as she does it. The show keeps the camera on her face. She is crying while she is destroying him. She knows what she is doing. She knows she is selling out the one person from her childhood who tried to love her. And she does it anyway, because that is the deal she has made with the part of herself that needs Homelander's approval more than air. That is the moment her soul is gone. That is the moment Firecracker becomes a hollow thing. Everything that comes after, in the rest of the episode, is just her body walking around without anybody inside it. Later that night, she sleeps with Soldier Boy. The two of them are in bed together, and she is in a vulnerable place after what she just did. And she confesses to him. She tells him about her doubts. She tells him she is not sure about Homelander being God. She tells him the religion they are building feels wrong. She trusts Soldier Boy with the truth of how she actually feels, because she has nobody else left to trust. Soldier Boy goes straight to Homelander. He tells his son everything she said, every doubt, every flicker of guilt, every honest word. Homelander listens. Homelander processes. Homelander decides. That night, Firecracker goes home. She walks into her apartment. Homelander is already there, waiting for her. What happens next is one of the cruelest scenes in the show's history. And it is also one of the most tender, and the show holds both at the same time. Homelander does not start by killing her. He starts by being almost gentle. He tells her, very softly, that she is being let go, that her time at Vought is over, that she should pack her things and walk away. He is offering her a way out. He is showing her, possibly for the first time in their entire relationship, an actual choice. She can leave. She can survive. She can go. She does not take it. Instead, she begs. She tells him she loves him. She tells him she would do anything for him. She tells him she has given up everything she ever was for him, and she is not going to stop now, and she will always be his. And then she says the line that kills her. She says, "We all need love, do we not? Even God." That is the line. That is the 7 words that end her life. Watch what happens to Homelander's face when she says it. The actor playing him, Anthony Starr, does something specific in that beat. The tenderness leaves him. Something colder takes its place. Because what Firecracker just said, in trying to declare her love, is that she does not actually think he is God. She thinks he is a man who needs love. She thinks he is human enough to want what humans want. And she has just told him, to his face, that this is what she sees when she looks at him. It is the one thing he cannot let her live for saying. He grabs her. He drives her head into the wing of an eagle statue that sits on her shelf, the kind of patriotic decoration her show is full of, the kind of thing that has decorated her career, and the wing impales her skull. She dies in her own apartment, surrounded by the iconography of the country she helped sell. The eagle statue detail is the kind of touch you only catch on a second watch. The whole season has been about how Vought sells America to itself. The whole season has been about how the country that calls itself the land of the free is now run by a man who burns people alive on his way to church. And Firecracker, who has spent her career wrapping herself in flags and crosses and eagle imagery, dies on the wing of an eagle, killed by the man whose flag she wore. The showrunner has been very clear, in his own words, about what Firecracker represents. He has said in interviews that her death is meant to show what happens to anyone who chooses to be in the orbit of an autocrat or a sociopathic egomaniac. He said the pattern always follows the same path. The autocrat demands your loyalty. He demands you compromise every single value you ever had. He demands you humiliate yourself for him. He demands you sell out everyone who ever cared about you. And only after you have given up every single thing you ever held dear, only then does he discard you. Only then does he throw you out into the cold. He named real people in the comparison. He said, sometimes you are Marjorie Taylor Greene, a politician who was a loyal supporter of Trump and ended up publicly fighting with him. He said, sometimes you are someone Joseph Stalin orders to be shot, a person who served the Soviet dictator and got executed for it anyway. And he said, sometimes you are Firecracker. That comparison is real. That is on the record. The man writing the show looked at the character he created and explicitly placed her in the historical pattern of people who give up their souls for a strong man and then get destroyed by the strong man the moment their usefulness ends. Valerie Curry, the actor, has talked about the death too. She said something on the record that breaks your heart if you listen carefully. She said that her character has given up whatever humanity she had left, and whatever love existed for her in the world is gone. She said she returns home that night to find Homelander waiting, and she has just done the thing he wanted, which was destroy her pastor on live TV, and she has no idea death is coming. She does not know. That is the part that hurts most. Firecracker walks into her apartment thinking she has won. She thinks the destruction of her pastor has earned her something. She thinks the man waiting for her has come to praise her. She has spent her whole life chasing approval, and she has finally given the last little piece of herself to get it. And the man who promised to give it to her in return is there with murder in his hands. She tries one last time, with her last words, to make it real. She tries to be loved. And the love she asks for is the exact thing that gets her killed. The director, Phil Segricha, frames the killing without music. The whole episode has been doing a lot with sound. This moment lets the silence land. You hear the sound of the wing going through her skull. You hear Homelander step back. You see her body slide down. And then the episode is over. What makes Firecracker's break the saddest break on the show is that it happened on purpose. Homelander does not know what is happening to him. He is hallucinating. He is sick. His break is something done to him by years of trauma. Annie is fighting hers. She is trying to hold on. Butcher has a literal disease taking him over. Mother's milk is collapsing under the weight of fighting too long. They are all victims of something larger than themselves. Firecracker chose. Every single step. Every single compromise. Every single lie. She chose them with her eyes open, because the alternative was being nobody. And she would rather be a monster than be nobody. The childhood that hurt her did not force her to become this. The pastor who raised her was right there, all her life, offering her a way to be something else. She knew the way out. She just did not take it. Because the way out did not come with a man on TV telling her she was special. And so she ended up on the wrong end of an eagle wing. in an apartment paid for by a network she had degraded herself for. Killed by the only man she had ever loved enough to lie to a country for. Killed for using the wrong word. Killed for being honest about what she needed for 1 second too many. The show is not done with her after she dies. Her death changes everything for the people who knew her. The Deep watches it happen in slow motion in his head. The Deep starts to wonder, for the first time, whether his loyalty is actually keeping him alive, or whether it is just delaying the moment when Homelander gets bored of him too. The Deep is a coward, but the Deep is not stupid. And the Deep is starting to do math that he should have done years ago. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this analysis, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. The next person we have to talk about is the Deep. Because while Firecracker's break was a slow choice she made step by step over many years, his break is the opposite. His break is happening to him right now, in real time, in the open, on camera. And you can watch the fear climb up his face, episode by episode. He knows he is next. He is just not brave enough yet to do anything about it. Section 7. The Coward. Watching the door. The Deep is shaking. You can see it in his hands. You can see it in his face. You can hear it in his voice when he tries to talk himself out of being scared. He is a grown man, a member of the Seven, one of the most famous superheroes in the country, and he is shaking like a child every single time Homelander walks into the room. The other supes are starting to notice. The boys noticed in episode 1. A-Train, dying, took the time to point it out to him directly. The Deep denied it. The trembling in his voice as he denied it was so loud you could hear it through the screen. The Deep knows he is going to die soon. He just does not know when. That knowledge is doing something to him this season that the show has never let him do before. The Deep, for 4 seasons, has been a punchline. He is the man who can talk to fish. He is the man who got his face seen having sex with an octopus. He is the man who married a woman, ate her in front of a camera, and described it as the most meaningful relationship of his life. He is treated as a joke. He acts like a joke. The audience laughs at him. Season 5 is not letting us laugh anymore. Season 5 is asking us to look at him. The first sign that something different is happening with the Deep comes in episode 1. A-Train, the speedster, the man who used to be his teammate, the man who is about to die in the very next scene by helping the boys save Huey's life, takes a moment to tell the Deep the truth. A-Train looks at him and says he sees that the Deep is terrified of Homelander. A-Train says it gently. He is not mocking him. He is offering him a way out. A-Train is dying soon. He knows it. And before he dies, he is trying to plant a seed in his old teammate that maybe, just maybe, there is a version of this where the Deep walks away too. The Deep cannot hear it. The Deep doubles down. The Deep tells A-Train he is not afraid, but the lie is sitting on his face the whole time he says it. A-Train sees it. The Deep knows A-Train sees it. And then A-Train dies, and the chance to save himself dies with him. And the Deep goes back to Vought Tower and pretends nothing happened. What we watch across episodes 2 through 6 is what happens to a coward who has finally figured out that being a coward will not save him. In episode 2, after the death of A-Train, the Deep is at the funeral. He is on stage with the rest of the Seven. The choir is singing. O Father is preaching. And the Deep is performing grief he does not feel for a man he was glad to see killed. He has to pretend. He has to be sad for the cameras. The whole moment is grotesque because A-Train was murdered by Homelander, and the Deep is part of the team that helped cover it up. And now he is sitting in the front row of the funeral, playing the part of the mourning friend. By episode 4, the cracks are visible in his face all the time. He is in the Vought podcast studio with Black Noir 2, eating sushi, when Black Noir 2 knocks the food out of his hands. Black Noir 2 is angry at him. The two of them are supposed to be partners. They host a Manosphere podcast together where they tell young men terrible things about how to be men. And Black Noir 2 has had enough of being treated like a sidekick by the Deep, who himself is barely allowed in the room with the real power players. The confrontation is small but important. Black Noir 2 tells the Deep that everyone thinks he is stupid. Everyone thinks his powers are dumb. Everyone laughs at him behind his back. The Deep tries to defend himself by saying he is in Homelander's good graces. He tries to claim he is winning. Black Noir II just looks at him and asks how long he thinks that is going to last. How long do you think you have, the Deep? How long? That question hangs over the Deep for the rest of the season. He cannot answer it. He does not know. The thing that makes the Deep's collapse different from everyone else's is that he is the only one who knows he is collapsing in real time and cannot make himself do anything about it. Sage figured out the system was broken and walked out. Annie is fighting suicidal thoughts and trying to find reasons to keep going. Mother's Milk has surrendered to the fight in a way that has freed him. Butcher has a literal devil in his head telling him what to do. Firecracker chose every step of her own destruction. The Deep is the man in the middle. The Deep can see exactly what is coming. He has watched Homelander kill people for less. He knows the moment is approaching where he will say the wrong thing, or do the wrong thing, or not produce the right results, and Homelander will turn on him, and he will end up on the floor of his own apartment with something through his skull. He just cannot bring himself to leave. The reason he cannot leave is the part that makes him pathetic and also kind of human. The Deep has spent his entire adult life chasing the approval of Vought, of the Seven, of Homelander. He has no friends. He has no community. He has no version of himself that exists outside the celebrity machinery. If he walked away, he would be a man who can talk to fish. That is it. He would be nothing. The fame is the only thing he has, and the fame requires him to stay in the building, even though staying in the building is what is going to kill him. He stays for the same reason Firecracker stayed: the need to be seen, the need to belong, the need to be told he matters. The Deep has never been told by anyone that he matters in a way that did not require him to perform for the cameras first. And without the cameras, he is just a sad man with strange hair who is bad at his job. The episode that shows the trap most clearly is episode 6. Sage gives him a new assignment. He is to film a public service announcement defending a Vought oil pipeline being built off the coast of Alaska. The pipeline is going to spill into the ocean. The pipeline is going to kill fish, which the Deep can talk to, which the Deep loves, which the Deep has a genuine emotional relationship with, even though the show treats that relationship as a punchline. He is being asked by Vought to go on camera and lie about something that will hurt the only beings in the world he genuinely cares for. He tries to push back. He tells Sage the fish do not like pipelines. Sage looks at him without expression and asks him whether he cares about the fish more than he cares about Homelander. The Deep does not have an answer. Or rather, he has an answer. And the answer is that he cares about the fish more. But he cannot say it, because saying it would be a death sentence. So he says nothing. And then he goes off to film the PSA. He says the lines they wrote for him. He smiles into the camera. He tells America that the pipeline is safe and the fish love it. and inside his head, somewhere, he is having a conversation with himself that he cannot have out loud, where he is admitting that he just betrayed the only thing in his life that has ever made him feel something real. Black Noir 2 is watching the PSA when it airs. Black Noir 2's face does something interesting. Black Noir 2 is furious. Because Black Noir 2, despite the costume, despite the team, despite the company line, has been having his own crisis of conscience all season. And watching his partner lie about the pipeline is the thing that finally pushes Black Noir 2 over the edge. Black Noir 2 goes to the pipeline. He sabotages it. He breaks it open. According to the show, the resulting spill kills 1.2 billion marine animals. That is the number. 1.2 billion creatures dead because Black Noir 2 decided he could not stomach being part of the lie anymore. The Deep finds out. The Deep panics. He goes after Adam Bork, the director of the propaganda film The Dawn of the Seven, who is in the building, and the Deep blames him for things he did not do. The Deep ends up eating Adam Burke alive in a bathroom. He uses an eel. The whole thing is filmed for horror. Adam Burke gets in a few last words. He says Paul Rudd is not who you think he is. He airs his jealousy of Tony Gilroy, the creator of the show Andor. And then he dies horribly, eaten from the inside by a man whose response to political pressure is always to consume someone smaller than himself. The Deep is not okay. The act of killing Adam Burke is not a victory. It is a panic attack with teeth. He is doing it to feel powerful, because feeling powerful for a few seconds is the only way he can get through the rest of the day without thinking about Homelander. Black Noir II is now in open revolt. Firecracker just died. The Deep has watched the woman who slept with Homelander, who gave him breast milk, who literally became his servant in every possible way, get her head driven into an eagle statue for using one wrong word. And the Deep can do the math. The Deep can see that loyalty is not a shield. Loyalty is just the line you stand in while waiting for your turn. The other part of the Deep's collapse that is worth talking about is what happens to him in his quieter moments. Episode 5 lets us see the inside of his head a little more than the others. He is at the celebrity mansion with Soldier Boy, Homelander, and the group of selfish, scared Hollywood stars they are interrogating. The celebrities, played by Seth Rogen, Kumail Nanjiani, Will Forte, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, and Craig Robinson, are all playing exaggerated versions of themselves. They are trying to figure out a way to save themselves from Homelander. They are willing to throw each other under the bus. They are willing to lie. They are willing to die. The Deep is the only one in that room who really understands what they are going through, because he has been doing what they are doing for years. He has been the smiling face on camera while feeling sick to his stomach off camera. He has been the man telling lies about people he used to know, just to keep his place at the table. He has been the man who watches other people get killed for the crime of not lying enough, and who tells himself every time that he will not be next. The celebrities all die in the scene. Marathon kills most of them. Soldier Boy and Homelander kill the rest. The Deep is not in the room when it happens. He is off doing something else. But the symbolism is loud. The celebrities are him. The celebrities are the cautionary tale. The celebrities are what happens to people who try to outsmart Homelander by being clever and useful and quiet about their actual feelings. And the Deep is still on the same path. The actor playing him, Chase Crawford, has gone through 5 seasons of being the show's running joke. Crawford has played this character with such commitment to the bit that audiences forget there is a person inside the costume. Season 5 lets the person out a little. There are scenes this year where you can see the panic in his eyes. There are scenes where you can see him doing math behind a smile. He is in every scene with Homelander now and never relaxes. He never sits comfortably. He never breathes deeply. His shoulders are up around his ears. His face is half a step ahead of itself, trying to predict what expression the room will want from him before the room even asks. That is what living in fear looks like. Not screaming, not crying, just permanent tension, permanent vigilance, permanent calculation. The Deep has been doing this for so long that his body has forgotten how to be calm. He is breaking down on a cellular level, slowly, the way real people in real abusive environments break down. The damage is not flashy. It is just constant. There is a moment in episode 6 that captures everything. Sage tells him Firecracker has been killed. He absorbs the news. He understands what it means. He understands that if Firecracker, who did everything Homelander asked, who gave herself to Homelander in every way a person can still end up dead, then nobody is safe. He sees it. He gets it. And then, in the very next beat, he agrees to do the pipeline PSA anyway. That is the trap. He can see the trap clearly. He cannot make himself walk out of it. The fear of staying is being beaten by the fear of leaving. The fear of dying for being too loyal is being beaten by the fear of being nobody outside the building. And so he stays. And he lies. And he kills Adam Burke for no good reason. And he waits. The Deep is the saddest portrait of the season in some ways, because his break is not coming from anything special. His break is just from being in the room too long. He has been in the room with Homelander for too many years, taking too many small hits, telling himself too many small lies. And the small things have added up to a man who cannot remember who he was before any of it. There is no grand trauma. There is no big betrayal. There is just the accumulated weight of 1,000 small humiliations and the slow, creeping understanding that the man he has been trying to please has been planning to kill him the whole time. The thing he does not know yet, the thing he might not figure out until it is too late, is that Black Noir II is also having a similar reckoning. The two of them are mirror images of each other. The Deep is the man who knows he is breaking and cannot leave. Black Noir II is the man who has decided to leave and has not yet told anyone. The two of them are going to collide at some point, and that collision is going to determine whether either of them gets out of Season 5 alive. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this analysis, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. But before we get to that collision, we need to talk about the man who has been silent for most of his time on the show. The man who hides behind a mask and never speaks. The man who is finally, in Season 5, deciding to drop the costume and start telling people what he actually thinks. His break is the loudest quiet break in the season. And it begins, like most breaks on this show begin, with the worst thing a man can lose: belief. Section 8. The quiet man who found his voice too late. Black Noir 2 has been doing the wrong job for 2 seasons now. The original Black Noir was a silent ninja, a man who never spoke, whose face was hidden behind a mask, whose entire job was to be the lethal shadow of the Seven. He died at the end of Season 3. Homelander killed him in a moment of personal rage, and then, because the public could not know the original Black Noir was dead, Vought replaced him. They handed the costume to an actor, a young man with real acting training, a man whose name we have never even officially learned. He has been called Noir 2, Black Noir 2, or just Noir. He has been wearing the suit and trying to play the part of the original since Season 4. The thing about the new Noir is that he is not built for the job. The original Black Noir was a stone-cold killer. The new Noir is an artist, a trained theater actor, a man who got into this work because he wanted to perform Shakespeare and play complex emotional roles and be taken seriously by his peers. Instead, he ended up inside a costume that requires him to be silent, faceless, deadly, and morally compromised. He has been doing the best he can with a part that was written for somebody else. For most of Season 4, his struggle was comedic. He kept breaking character. He kept saying things the original would never have said. He kept letting his actual personality leak through the mask. The other members of the Seven would look at him like he was crazy. He was the misfit, the actor who could not commit, the guy who kept showing up to a Halloween party out of costume. Season 5, the show has done something interesting with him. The show has stopped playing his struggle for laughs. The show has started taking him seriously. And what we are watching this year is a man who has finally figured out how to play the part, who has gotten good at being noir, and who has paid for that skill with his soul. In Episode 1, Noir is silent, cold, in character. He fights Annie in the back room during the shareholder meeting and almost beats her. He moves like the original Black Noir would have moved. He carries himself like the original did. The other characters notice the change. The Deep, in a conversation later, points out how different Noir is acting this season, how he has stopped speaking, how he has stopped letting his personality through. The Deep finds it strange. The Deep is right to find it strange. The implication of the change is that something happened between seasons. Something that made Noir decide that the only way to survive in Homelander's vault was to stop being himself. The actor inside the mask, the man who wanted to perform Shakespeare, has been buried by the man who has decided to method act his way through a fascist regime. He has become his character. He has gone so far into the role that he has lost the person who was playing it. That is the break. That is the quiet collapse. A man who used to be unable to stop being himself has now decided to stop being himself completely, because being himself is dangerous, and being the character is safe. Except being the character is not actually safe. Nothing inside Vought is safe. And Noir is starting to figure that out around Episode 4. In Episode 4, Noir and the Deep are recording the latest episode of their Manosphere podcast. The podcast is one of the most dystopian inventions of the show. It is a real thing they do. They sit at a desk together, on camera, and they tell young men how to think about women. They tell them how to act. They tell them what to want. They tell them what is wrong with the world. The whole thing is designed to capture and radicalize a certain kind of young male audience for Vought's political purposes. And Noir, the trained theater actor, is the co-host. In the studio that day, Noir confronts the Deep. He calls him out. He says the Deep abandoned him during the operation to kidnap Stan Edgar. He says the Deep is always trying to win Homelander's approval and will never be more important to him than Soldier Boy is. The confrontation is small, but it tells you everything. Noir is angry. Noir has been keeping things in. Noir is starting to want to be heard. And he is starting with the easiest target in the room, which is the Deep, the man even sadder than he is. The Deep tries to laugh it off. The Deep tells Noir that he is happy in Homelander's good graces. Noir asks him how long he thinks that is going to last. The question is the same one Black Noir 2 has been asking himself in private all season. How long do any of them have? How long until the music stops? How long until Homelander decides one of them is not loyal enough, or smart enough, or useful enough, and turns them into a smear on a wall? The answer comes one episode later. Firecracker dies, and Noir watches it happen, indirectly. He understands what happened. He understands that Firecracker, who did everything Homelander wanted, ended up dead anyway. And the math finally clicks for him. Loyalty does not save you. Servitude does not save you. Method acting your way through a regime that eats its own does not save you. Episode 5 gives Noir his own short film inside the one-shot's episode structure. The whole episode is built as a series of small character pieces. Noir gets one of them. And what we get to see in that piece is what Noir does when nobody is watching him. We watch him direct a play. Not an action sequence, not a mission. A play. About the Bee Gees, the musical group from the 70s. He is putting together an actual stage production about them, with actors and rehearsals and a script. He hires Adam Bourke, the same director who did The Dawn of the Seven, to help him. This is the version of him that has been hidden under the costume. The man who wants to make art. The man who wants to put on a show that means something. The man who came to Hollywood to do real work and ended up trapped in a fascist superhero franchise. He has been carrying this dream around the whole time, and he is finally trying to make it real. And the show lets us see him be happy for a few minutes before the world comes crashing back in. Adam Bourke gets killed during the celebrity scene. The Deep kills him by way of an eel. The Deep does this in part because he is panicking, and in part because he is jealous, and in part because Adam Bourke had become close to Noir during the play rehearsals. The Deep is killing the man who is helping Noir build his art. And Noir, when he finds out, processes the information in a way that is different from how the show has handled grief for him before. He does not scream. He does not cry. He does not yell at anyone. He just decides. In episode 6, Noir goes to the Vought oil pipeline being built off the coast of Alaska. He does it alone. He destroys it. The pipeline breaks open. The crude oil floods into the ocean. The damage estimate, according to the show, is 1.2 billion marine animals dead. That is the number the show gives us. The act of sabotage is partly revenge against the Deep for killing Adam Bourke. It is partly an environmental statement. It is partly, in the most important way, a declaration that Noir is done being Noir. He has stopped playing the part. The actor inside the mask has chosen to be the actor again, even though being the actor means losing the protection of the costume. He has decided that whatever happens next, he will not die a fake. He will die as himself. The thing about this decision is that it has consequences. Noir is now on a collision course with the Deep. The Deep does not yet know it was Noir who sabotaged the pipeline. Once he finds out, or once Homelander finds out, there will be a confrontation. And in that confrontation, only one of them is going to walk out. The Deep is more dangerous than people give him credit for. Noir is more vulnerable than the costume makes him look. The two of them have been mirror images of each other all season. The Deep is the man who knows he should leave and cannot. Noir is the man who has decided to leave and is running out of time to make it count. What makes Noir's break the loudest quiet break in the season is that he is the only person on the inside of Homelander's circle who has actively chosen rebellion. Sage left, but Sage left to save her own skin. The deep is trembling but cannot move. Firecracker chose loyalty until it killed her. Noir is the only one who, while still inside the building, is actively burning it down on his way out. The actor playing Noir, Nathan Mitchell, has been on the show since season 1. He played the original Black Noir, the silent one. He plays the new Noir as well, even though the character is meant to be a different person. The decision to keep Mitchell in the role, to have him essentially play a man who is wearing a mask of the character Mitchell used to play, is one of the strangest pieces of casting in television, and it adds an extra layer to what we are watching this season. Mitchell, the actor, knows what the original Noir looked like. Mitchell, the actor, knows the kind of silence the original carried. And he is playing a man who has finally taught himself how to do what the original did, only to realize that doing it is killing the part of himself that made him want to be an actor in the first place. There is a particular moment in episode 5 that captures it. Noir is rehearsing the Bee Gees play. The actors he hired are running through their lines. Adam Bork is giving notes. Noir is watching from the audience seats, and his face, behind the mask, behind the character, is alive. He is happy. He is in the room he wanted to be in. The work is good. The actors are talented. The play has the shape of something real. That is the last time we see him happy in season 5. By the end of the episode, Adam Bork is dead. By the next episode, Noir is at the pipeline with explosives. The path between joy and sabotage takes about 30 minutes of screen time. And the show lets you feel every minute of it. The joy made him remember what he was. The reminder of what he was made the cost of staying in the costume unbearable. The unbearable cost forced him to act. The actor inside the actor is finally awake. And being awake is going to get him killed. There is a larger point the show is making with Noir that connects to everything else this season. The point is about what authoritarian systems do to creative people. The point is about what happens to artists in a country run by a flag-wearing God King. The point is that the system either uses you or destroys you. There is no third option. The deep gets used. Firecracker got used and then destroyed. Noir is choosing destruction over use because choosing destruction is the only way to remain himself. Eric Kripke, the showrunner, has talked in interviews about how the show this season is fundamentally a story about resistance against a fascist government. He has used those exact words. He has said the show is about ordinary people who cannot wait for a hero to save them. Noir is, in his own strange way, one of those ordinary people. He is not Annie. He is not Huey. He is not part of the boys. He is just a guy who got handed a costume and a job and a salary and slowly figured out that the cost of the salary was his soul, and decided, after watching enough people die, that the salary was no longer worth it. The thing the show does not let us forget, even in his quietest moments, is that Noir has blood on his hands too. He has been a member of the Seven for a year. He has done what the Seven does. He has killed people. He has hurt people. He has helped enforce a regime that is putting people like Huey's father into freedom camps. He is not innocent. The redemption arc he is trying to walk now does not erase any of that. It just changes the direction he is walking in. What the show is asking, through him, is whether direction matters. Whether the decision to turn around, even late, even after the damage is done, even when there is almost nothing left to save, is worth something. Whether a man who spent 2 years being the silent enforcer of a fascist celebrity can earn back his own face by destroying a pipeline. The answer, in the show, is unclear. The answer might be no. The answer might be that he dies before he gets to find out. But the asking matters. The fact that the show is asking, through a character it has spent 2 seasons treating as a joke, is one of the quiet miracles of this final season. Black Noir 2 has been laughed at for so long that watching him try, in the last hours of his life, to be a real human being is genuinely moving. He is not a hero. He is not even competent. The pipeline sabotage will not stop Homelander. The play he was rehearsing will never be staged. The man under the mask will probably never get the recognition as an artist that he came to Hollywood for. But he tried. In a season where almost everyone else gave up or compromised or surrendered, he tried. And the trying, however small, however late, however doomed, is something the show wants us to see. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this analysis, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. What he does not know, what the Deep does not know, what nobody on the inside of Vought knows yet, is that the man who has been positioned all season as Homelander's ally, the war hero brought back from the dead to be the regime's smiling face, the father figure who walked away from his son once and came back to lead him into godhood, is also breaking in a way nobody saw coming. His break is the strangest one in the season, because he watches a man choose love over immortality, watches a man choose to grow old and die alongside the woman he loves, and then, less than 5 minutes later, hands his own son the pill of eternal life and helps him become a god. That decision is the heart of the season. That decision is what makes everything else possible. And it is the break of a man who once stood for something and has forgotten what it was. Section 9. The Soldier Who Forgot What Love Was. Soldier Boy watches a man choose love. Then he turns around and chooses the opposite. That is the entire shape of his breakdown in Season 5. The moment happens in Episode 6. The boys have finally tracked down Bombsight, one of the original soups from the 1940s, a man who has been carrying the last vial of original Compound V around for decades. Bombsight has been hiding because he is in love. He is in love with a woman named Golden Geisha, who everyone calls Goldie. Goldie was one of the only Asian female soups of her era. She was a star in old Vought movies. The two of them have been together, on and off, for most of their lives. The thing about Bombsight is that he is immortal. He took the original Compound V, the very first batch, and it made him unable to age. He has watched everyone he ever loved get older, while he stayed the same. He has watched friends die. He has watched lovers leave him because they could not stand the gap between his time and theirs. The vial of V1 he stole years ago, he stole it for Goldie. He wanted to make her immortal too. He wanted her to stay with him forever. She said no. She told him she did not want to live forever. She told him a summer is only beautiful when you know winter is coming. She told him the very thing that makes love matter is that it ends. The two of them split up over it. They have been apart for years. When the boys kidnap Goldie in Episode 6 and use her as bait, Bombsight shows up to save her. He has the vial. He still wants to protect her. And Soldier Boy is there. Soldier Boy fights him. Soldier Boy uses his nuclear chest blast to take away Bombsight's powers. The blast strips the Compound V out of him. Bombsight becomes mortal again. He will age now. He will die. And Bombsight, on his knees, looks at Goldie, and he is happy. He is finally going to grow old with her. He chooses her over forever. He gives Soldier Boy the vial of V1 in exchange. The deal is done. He goes to live whatever years he has left as a normal man. Soldier Boy watches all of this happen. The whole thing plays out in front of him. A man choosing finite love over endless power. A man saying, with his body, that loving someone until you both die is better than living forever alone. 5 minutes later, Homelander arrives, and Soldier Boy hands him the vial. That is the break. That is the moment. The lesson is right there, 10 feet away from him. Demonstrated by a man who lived through every version of immortality and decided it was not worth it. And Soldier Boy takes the lesson and uses it backwards. He gives his son the very thing that just destroyed Bombsight's life for 60 years. The reason he does it is the part that makes you sick. Soldier Boy explains himself out loud. He tells Sage, who is watching in horror, that he loved a woman named Clara Vought more than he hates Homelander. Clara was Stormfront, the Nazi superhero from Season 2. Soldier Boy slept with her decades ago. Homelander slept with her decades later. They both loved her. And in the moment Soldier Boy is standing there with the vial in his hand, he sees Homelander as Clara's legacy. He sees his son as the continuation of the dream Clara believed in. The dream of a superpowered master race. So he hands him the vial. He makes his son a god. Because he is honoring the memory of a Nazi he used to sleep with. That is what Soldier Boy chooses when given a choice. The man who just watched another man choose human love over immortality decides to honor the memory of a fascist by handing his violent, hallucinating, breast milk-bathing son the keys to eternal life. Homelander injects himself with the V1 right there. His eyes start glowing. Lasers shoot out of them into the sky uncontrollably. He drops to his knees, screaming. The boys watch in horror. Soldier Boy watches without flinching. Whatever Homelander has just become, Soldier Boy gave it to him on purpose. The break in Soldier Boy is not psychological the way Homelander's is. He is not hallucinating. He is not hearing voices. His mind is intact. What is broken is his moral compass. The thing inside him that used to know right from wrong has been replaced by a memory of a woman who taught him that strength and power and legacy were the only things that mattered. He has decided, after watching a counterexample play out right in front of him, that he is still going to listen to her ghost. He has chosen the wrong love. Bombsight chose the right love and gave up immortality for it. Soldier Boy chose the wrong love and gave immortality to the worst person on Earth because of it. The two men made the exact opposite choice, in the exact same room, within minutes of each other. And the show framed it that way on purpose, so you could not miss it. The actor playing him, Jensen Ackles, has been on the show since Season 3. He plays Soldier Boy as a man who has been frozen for decades, who missed the changes the world went through, who carries the values of a different time in a body that cannot die. The values are bad. The values include racism, sexism, and a casual fondness for fascism. The show has never pretended otherwise. But there has always been a glimmer of something else in there, a capacity for change, a possible redemption. The boys ended Season 3 by locking him away because they thought maybe, given time, he could become something. Season 5 gives him the chance. And he fails it. Spectacularly. In front of witnesses. With the lesson written in big letters right next to him. That is the saddest thing about his break. He had every piece of information he needed. He watched the right answer play out in front of him. And he did the opposite anyway. Because the part of him that could change had already been buried under the part of him that worshipped Clara. What this means for the rest of the season is that Homelander is now possibly immortal. The man hallucinating in a bathtub is now the man who cannot die. The breakdown has just become unkillable. And the only people left to stop him are a team of broken, drunk, suicidal, cancer-ridden, terrified, traumatized humans who can barely look each other in the eye anymore. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this analysis, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. But the cracks are not just inside the cast anymore. The cracks have spread outside the show itself. The man writing the season has been watching his own scripts come true in real time, weeks before they air. And he has gone on the record saying he is starting to wonder if he should keep writing them at all. Section 10. The writer who got hit by his own bullet. There is one more person breaking down in Season 5 of The Boys, and he is not in the cast. His name is Eric Kripke. He is the man who created the show. He has been running it since Season 1. He wrote the world, hired the actors, built the storylines, and steered the whole ship through 5 seasons of network notes and cultural backlash and fan arguments. He is the man whose name is on every episode. He is the man whose job is to be the calm hand on the wheel. And in Season 5, the calm hand is shaking. The thing that is breaking him is timing. The writers' room for Season 5 completed the scripts before the November 2024 election. They started filming around the same time. Everything that ended up in the final season was written as speculative fiction. The team sat in a room and tried to imagine what creeping authoritarianism would look like in America if it actually happened. They drew on history. They looked at other countries that had gone through the same patterns. They studied dictatorships. They studied propaganda. And then they painted the whole thing red, white, and blue and called it satire. The plan, in Kripke's own words, was simple. He said it on the record. He said he wanted to write a version of George Orwell's 1984 set in America, so that everyone could watch it and feel relieved they had dodged the bullet. That was the goal. Make the warning so loud that the country could hear it and choose not to walk into the thing the warning was warning about. The country walked into it anyway. Kripke has talked about this in interview after interview leading up to Season 5. He keeps using the same metaphor. He says the plan was to dodge the bullet, but instead they got hit by the bullet. He says the show was meant to be a funhouse mirror that exposed the grotesque parts of America. And instead, reality has started using the funhouse mirror as a vanity mirror. The things the show invented to make fun of fascism are now things the actual government does. The things the writers thought were going too far are now being done 48 hours before the episodes that mock them air. The clearest example happened during the season itself. Episode 3 features Homelander hallucinating Madeline Stillwell as an angel, telling him he is going to be the Messiah, telling him he must become God. The writers thought this was the most extreme place they could possibly take him. They thought becoming God was the cartoon endpoint, the maximum, the thing that could not be topped. 48 hours before Episode 3 aired, Donald Trump posted an AI-generated image of himself dressed as Jesus. Kripke went on a podcast called Polygon and talked about it. His voice in the interview is not the voice of a man who is enjoying being right. His voice is tired. He says he is weary of the world reflecting the show before the show gets a chance to air. He asks, out loud, if reality could please give the writers a chance to put their absurd satire out into the world before reality proves the satire is not absurd enough. He sounds like a man who has been writing warning signs for 10 years and is finally realizing nobody is reading them. Then it happened again. Episode 6 is built partly around the imagery of Homelander as a literal god. The Vought Church is putting up statues of him. There is iconography. There is gold leaf. There are paintings. A few days before Episode 6 aired, somebody at Trump National Doral Golf Course in Florida unveiled a 22-foot-tall gold leaf statue of Donald Trump. They called it Don Colossus. It cost $450,000. It was paid for by a group of cryptocurrency investors tied to a meme coin. The whole thing was real. The whole thing happened in our world. Kripke went on Instagram on May 10, 2026. He looked at a side-by-side comparison of the gold Homelander statue from the show and the gold Trump statue from the golf course. And he posted a meme that just said, "Seriously, what the hell?" That 4-word reaction is the most honest thing any showrunner has said about the experience of writing political fiction in this decade. He is not gloating. He is not celebrating his prescience. He is asking, in genuine confusion, what is going on? He is asking why the country keeps copying his homework. He is asking how it is possible that the things he invented to look ridiculous keep showing up in the real world, looking even more ridiculous and being taken seriously by millions of people. This is the meta breakdown. This is the breakdown that exists outside the show, but happens because of the show. The man who built the world cannot keep up with the world anymore. The satire is being lapped by reality. The fiction is being out-fictioned by the news. And the man holding the pen is going on Instagram and writing "what the hell" because he has run out of other things to say. Kripke has been clear in his interviews about what he thinks the show is about. He has said more than once that it is about resistance against a fascist government. He has used those words. He has said the season is fundamentally about ordinary people who cannot wait for a hero to save them. He has said he feels an obligation to keep running in that direction as long as the show is on the air. But he has also said, in a panel at Deadline's Contenders television event, that he is going to miss the show. He said this in a way that revealed how much weight he has been carrying. He said he is going to miss having a place to put the news. He said every morning he wakes up and reads the headlines, and now that the show is ending, he will not have anywhere to put what he reads. He will have to swallow it. He will have to internalize it. He will have to feel it like everybody else does. And he said he feels incredible amounts of sympathy for everyone, because that is what they have all been doing this whole time. That is the heart of it. The man who has been processing the worst of America through fiction for almost a decade is about to lose his outlet. The fiction is ending. The reality is not. And he is going to have to live in the reality without being able to make a joke out of it anymore. The breakdown of The Boys, in the end, is not just the breakdown of its characters. It is the breakdown of the man who made them. He is tired. He is rattled. He is watching the country he tried to warn become the warning. And he is saying, on Instagram, in interviews, in panels, in podcasts, that he is not okay. Nobody is. That is the season. That is the show. That is the country it is set in. And the only question left, with 2 episodes still to come, is whether any of them get to walk out of the ending alive. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.